We are live.
A very gracious and inclusive welcome to esteemed chief guest as well as the keynote speaker, Padma Shri Professor Dinesh Singh Sir, Chancellor K.R. Mangalam University, Gurugram, and former Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, Professor S.P. Agarwal Sir, Principal, Ramanujan College, and Director, Teaching Learning Center, University of Delhi, Shri Jagannath Chaudhary, Program Director, as well as Associate Professor in the Department of Political Science, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi. The course coordinators for this refresher course, Dr. Madhu Kaushik and Dr. Zairunisha. My worthy colleagues from the organizing team and the dear participants who have joined us today, pan-India. Suddenly, the world worships technology as the new god. But technology should not be allowed to outspace ethics. Technology is power, but power without ethics is evil. Ethics is still the core discipline for any form of progress in the world. On such a rejuvenating note, I, Nidhi Mathur, on behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, graciously welcome you all to the inauguration function of the online 2-week refresher course on redefining ethics in the era of digitization, from theory to practice, organized by Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College. Named after the great Indian mathematician, Ramanujan College is one of the constituent colleges of University of Delhi. It was established in the year 1958 as an evening college for boys with just 5 programs. For the past decade, the college has been on the path of unprecedented growth. The college has highly qualified, committed, research-oriented, and talented teaching faculty who encourage interdisciplinary and blended learning mode to the teaching learning process through innovation projects, conferences, seminars, talks, and workshops. In pursuit of its vision, discover, empower, transform, building a better world, Ramanujan College is today perceived as one of the best colleges of the nation. The college has also acquired many prestigious schemes of the University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education, like the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Center for Knowledge Acquisition and Upgradation of Skilled Human Abilities and Livelihood, named as Kaushal in the year 2016. The Teaching Learning Center, under the aegis of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching in 2017. The National Resource Center for developing specialized online and MOOCs courses for teachers in the disciplines of ethics, human rights, and environment in the year 2018. The Teaching Learning Center is mandated by the Ministry of Education to organize faculty development programs, faculty orientation and induction programs, and discipline-specific and interdisciplinary refresher courses through offline as well as online modes. These programs are based on an in-depth subject knowledge, quantitative and qualitative research methodologies, and interdisciplinary approach as is envisaged in the National Education Policy 2020. The Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College has been set up with the aim of reaching the unreached, teachers in terms of regional diversity and geographical remote areas of the country. It has successfully conducted more than 100 learner-centric programs since 2017 and trained more than 150,000 teachers all across the country. Ramanujan College is a pioneer in offering offline as well as online courses for faculty members of higher educational institutions through the customized learning management system. The college has installed its own private cloud infrastructure to host the servers for research and data analytics. The blockchain technology is utilized in the generation of certificates, which provides authenticity and verifiability of the issued certificates by the college. Moving ahead, since the outset of human history, mankind has been concerned with ethics to attain happiness, highest good and fulfillment. Generally, the term ethics is used to understand human values, behavior, and action with a classification of good, bad, beautiful, ugly, right, wrong, true, false, which has a crucial role in ethical decision making, and to structure social phenomenon with set of common values, norms, beliefs, and ideas shared by members of the same community. These ideas are considered essential for building a strong foundation for individual, family, and society, its existence, relations, and their holistic development. Today, we live in a dynamic scientific and technological world which is constantly changing and transforming us into an information organism. The first scientific techno-cultural move towards interconnected digital society. Advances in science and technology and widespread use of information and communication technology, such as the internet, World Web, smartphones, artificial intelligence, have not only changed the meaning of morality, but also created new cyberspace that has become an integral part of our very existence and the way we experience the world. What is to be a human in this hyper digital world? Digital technologies are significant and exciting, but also present valuable ethical and cultural challenges that deserve our attention and action. With that in mind, the Teaching Learning Center of Ramanujan College, under the aegis of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission of Teachers and Teaching, scheme of Ministry of Education, is organizing this 2 weeks online refresher course for faculties, scholars, and a person who is curious to enhance his or her knowledge in ethics and its relation to today's society. The purpose of this 2 week refresher program is to discuss and deliberate various traditional and modern ethical theories and their practical uses in depth in the field of sciences, social sciences, and humanities by addressing the ethical challenges and offering guidance to build a novel education system at an interdisciplinary platform. The objective of this very course is to lay out an interdisciplinary framework that helps the participants to ask pertinent ethical questions that would help them to understand the world in a better way. We aim to assist academics to acquire special skills and methods which they can implement in their classroom teaching and helpful in becoming their most productive selves as educators. Moving ahead, Ramanujan College, under the stewardship of our able principal, Professor S.V. Agarwal sir, has conducted innumerable online faculty enrichment programs through its Teaching Learning Center, thus imparting training to, like I said, more than 1,50,000 teachers. I now take this immense pleasure to invite Sir to say a few words and also welcome our chief guest for today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. Good morning and welcome to all of you. Today, our chief guest and keynote speaker, none other than our own Professor Dinesh Singh, Chancellor K.R. Mangalam University and former Vice Chancellor Delhi University, not only a mathematician, data analyst, but also Gandhian, painter, story writer, and a very good, literary man, a rare combination of academic and administrative abilities, multifaceted personality, who is, fitted into this today's program as keynote speaker. Once you will listen, you will understand. My colleague, Shri Jagannath Chaudhary, Program Director, Madhu Kaushik, Jarunisha, other colleagues who are coordinating this program, participants, researchers, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I welcome you on behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Ramanujan College, University of Delhi, to this 2-week online refresher course on redefining ethics in the era of digitalization. Friends, there are two key words in this: ethics and digitalization. And we are trying to, combine the two to understand the problems, to see what is the future. Let me see, you talk of ethics. Now, whether you talk in corporate life, business ethics, corporate ethics, you talk of government governance, their ethical transactions or ethical moves. Similarly, academic institutions, academic integrity, that how research is, quite connected with academic integrity. Similarly, digitalization. Well, let us not go too far, but since the COVID, how the emphasis was given on digitalization. And also much before that, of course, we have been, not using much, but the digitalization is a buzzword today, and it is one of the parameters to see the progress of any country. Now, let me give you an example of my own institution. Well, we set up a Center for Ethics and Values in 2010. And we are consistently improving our IT infrastructure, as Nidhi said, in order to expose our students with IT and digitalization. Now, why it is important? Well, unless until today's youth, see, we are talking of masses, not only the cities and big towns. Let me give you an example. Recently, I went to Agra to see a monument. Now, they said, sir, you have to purchase everything online. All right. I was kind of hesitant, and then my son came forward. Okay, he did it in 2 minutes. And then I saw a family standing there, not knowing what to do. Immediately, my son came forward and helped them and, did the transaction. Now, the question arises is, knowledge is one thing. Knowledge of digitalization or IT is one thing. Another thing is the ethical transaction in that. Now, the problem comes is when money is involved, financial transaction is involved, when you connect it to your accounts, you don't know what is going to happen. So that is the main concern. Now, in order to make yourself understand this and to do the transaction securely, that is the key element today. Similarly, in educational institutions, similarly in government, schemes, that most of the schemes in today's time by the government are on digital platform, whether it is a transfer to farmers, whether it is, transfer to households where, the benefits of the government schemes are given. Now, the question arises, the responsibility of the academic institutions has gone much higher, because we need to train the young minds and understand that, yes, digitalization is important, but the ethics is also very, very important. And ethics is nothing but a state of mind. Well, if, today you do any transaction, and if you have a malice in your mind, then what IT will do, what digitalization will do, that is not going to help. The transaction, if it is done, it should have an ethical dimension to it. So that is the key thing which we wanted to explain through this, program. Now, let us take the COVID-19 situation where education and digitalization came in together. Every one of us, we never thought of this thing that the education will be given online, or this kind of program will be given online. One part is that this has saved, the academic years of students. This has saved the academic years of the researchers. Another part is what will happen to 50% of our, population which do not have access to the IT equipments required for this purpose. One is IT, and another point is the training, how to use that. So that that has to be addressed too. And that has an ethical dimension too, because we need to cater to the masses. So, well, I'm not saying that this should have not been done, but our responsibility as a government, as an academic institution, has gone much beyond. So how to make it inclusive for everyone? That is the key thing. Now, in this program, most of the topics will be touched upon, whether it relates to government policy making or related to various schemes or other things. But besides that, we have to solve this conflict between ethics and digitalization. Or we need to, probably we cannot solve, but we can highlight, or we can discuss this with all of you to take care of this thing. Now, another important aspect of this is that when we go for digitalization, of course, it is transparent, integrity, and everything is taken care of. But when we involve the beneficiaries to it, when we add beneficiaries to it, again, the human mind is working. And if you are not ethical into this, then definitely the benefits will not go to the right people. Similarly, another important aspect which I will highlight, and then we will listen to our star speaker, that all our transactions, whether we do it digitally or manually or otherwise, have one kind of ethical dimension or another kind of ethical dimension. Now, the question over the period happened is that you always listen to that. Most of the time, most educated people or most technical savvy people are being defrauded or are being cheated through online transactions. Now, this is happening quite often. In spite of the fact that we are aware, still we are making mistakes. Now, the security issue has to be dealt very carefully. Now, how to secure our transactions, that is the key element. Now, people like us, Professor Dinesh Singh will share with you, are scared. Young minds are not scared. They do it very perfectly most of the time, but they also, make mistakes. But we are always scared while doing these things, that whether we are doing it right or we are doing it securely, whether we are exposing ourselves. So the question arises is that how to train the society, how to train the young minds that they do it digitalization ethically. And all our transactions, all our dealings, all our academic institutions, all our government institutions do ethical kind of things. Now, digitalization has really helped, no doubt about it. You can see how the data is correlated, how the income tax has come out with the connecting these kind of transactions. Similarly, all kind of our online transactions today, government is doing most of the things in online. So the issue of corruption has gone down much lower. But the problem again is that everywhere in digitalization, human mind is involved. So unless human mind changes, we cannot resolve all the problems of ethics and digitalization. So with this, once again, I welcome all of you. And thank you very much to Professor Dinesh Singh, who has always been courteous and join our programs in spite of his all busy schedule. And I also welcome all the participants and my colleagues who have been evolving these programs on a contemporary topics and new technological topics. Thank you very much. Over to Nidhi.
Thank you, Professor Agrawal. It is very well said that ethics is a state of mind, and we have got a great responsibility in our academic institutions how to train the young minds to be ethical in all their transactions. Transactions of any kind, the ethics is the key, and we know how the digitalization all over the world, it has, it is online, but somehow or other the ethics is going offline. So now to teach the young mind to be ethical and to be, very much, morally intact with all sorts of, sort of digitalization. And it seems it's very, very difficult to train the young minds to be ethical. And education and digitalization, if they combine together and for a better purpose, may it be monetary transaction or a digital platform, whatever the case may be, I think we will come out with a better solution. And our, Center for Ethics and Values, it has been constantly, trying to impart the ethical, knowledge to the students. And I think we shall be, very much helpful to the academic community in, putting forth these sort of ethical dimensions to the students. Thank you very much, Professor Agrawal, for nice words. You have very well, said how during this COVID period, digitalization took off, and it has been a very, challenging task for us. But I think insofar as our college is concerned, we have been very much, active, and we imparted the best to our students. And thank you very much for that. Over to Nidhi.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on, we have amongst us an extremely talented, versatile, intellectual, and an astute scholar. Words actually fall short to describe his illustrious career, meritorious background, and his charismatic personality. Professor Dinesh Singh, former Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi, and currently serving as Chancellor in K.R. Mangalam University, is a distinguished mathematician and educationist. Sir has studied at St. Stephen's College and holds a PhD from the Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine, London, ranked amongst the top 10 universities globally. He is a distinguished senior fellow at Advanced Hackspace, adjunct professor at Imperial College and University of Houston. Sir has been awarded the Padma Shri, one of the highest civilian awards of the Government of India, by the President of India in the year 2014. Sir has been conferred honorary doctorates for his work as a mathematician and an educationist by the University of Edinburgh, the National University of Ireland, Cork, the University of Houston, and the National Institute of Technology, Kurukshetra. An avid painter, acclaimed public speaker, and a student of Gandhian philosophy, Professor Dinesh Singh Sir has published numerous mathematical research papers in international journals, and his mathematical work is cited in several books, monographs, and papers. The entire fraternity of Ramanujan College is indebted to you, sir, for sparing your time from your busy schedule and motivating our participants. I now request you, sir, to deliver your presidential address. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nidhi, for your kind words. I am deeply touched by them. I also express deep appreciation to Professor S.P. Agarwal, who has been a pioneer in digital matters. I think he has helped transform digital education. The landscape in India is so much the better because of the many activities that he and his colleagues at Ramanujan College have undertaken in the last 2 years. And I think the country will benefit much if we draw upon these experiences. I presume, Professor Agarwal, I have about 30 minutes, or am I wrong?
30 minutes, sir.
Thank you. So I listened with interest and attention to what my illustrious predecessors have spoken. And it does give us an idea of the landscape when it comes to digitization and to ethics. I'd like to sort of preface my talk with a little perspective on ethics. You know, if we understand human nature, then I think we will better understand this whole issue of dealing with digitization and ethical behavior. Essentially, as has been explained by everyone who spoke before me, ethics is all about the principles that govern moral behavior. And all of us are imbued or endowed with a moral conscience. As the German philosopher Immanuel Kant said, I marvel at the starry skies above and the moral conscience within. And when the moral conscience is overridden by our intellect for various reasons, that's when unethical behavior occurs. And it is not that because we have begun to go digital in this new age, that unethical behavior has begun to manifest itself. From the beginning of history, from the beginning of time, from the time that mankind's story unravels, you will find instances of unethical behavior throughout history. The important thing is that in every age, people have been beset with this problem and they have grappled with it in their own ways. And that has set the tone for moral standards, for ethical behavior, for that age and for the ages that follow. One of the prime examples I can think of is Socrates, who preferred to end his life by consuming poison rather than recant his views on what he believed to be true. He refused. This is very much in the tradition of what Satyavadi Raja Harishchandra did in the Indian mythological tradition. And Socrates and his behavior, Socrates and the standards that he set, have actually set the tone for mankind down the ages for century after century after century. His story inspires and tells us what we should really be doing in listening to the moral conscience. What I notice in these times, which may be a little more enhanced in terms of unethical behavior as compared to non-digital times, is a certain advantage that technology has accorded us. I think in earlier times, unethical behavior would be limited in its impact in the way it could harm or hurt people. Now, because of the fact that there is technology at our disposal, the impact can be far-reaching, devastating. And I will come to that very shortly, but let me illustrate how digital age has enhanced our propensity to exaggerate, even sometimes lie, to try and distort. I can tell you from a personal experience, some years ago, I would say about 10 years ago, I was on a holiday at a resort. I had deliberately chosen a place which would not have too many guests at that time. I wanted to just have a little bit of peace of mind. Every morning when I would turn up for breakfast, I would notice two couples, young couples, quite jazzily dressed. They would enter the breakfast area and they would move around a little bit and pose for photographs. And I noticed this for 3 days in a row. Then one of the waiters told me that, sir, they are not, because I expressed a certain degree of curiosity. I was not very familiar with Facebook in those days. I'm not very familiar even now. But then the waiter told me that actually they post these images on Facebook and they pretend that they are staying at this famous hotel. We also know that, but we allow people to come and go. We do not restrict movement. It was a very well-known, famous hotel chain. And now you could say this is slightly unethical behavior. They are posting images as if they are staying at that hotel. This is harmless. I do not think it causes any harm, or maybe a little bit. It might induce others who may not know this to try and keep up with them and go to an actual hotel, stay there, pay some money, and then have photographs taken to compete with them. I don't know. But you see the weakness to portray something that we are not. And here, of course, there was just a perceived advantage that I lead a certain kind of lifestyle. A persona is created which may not conform to what is actually on the ground. But that is what I'm trying to dwell on, this human weakness. That is something that has been taken advantage of in very exaggerated ways by digital technology that earlier technologies, earlier social behavior patterns could not take advantage of. And so we know how WhatsApp, social media platforms like Twitter, all of them are leading to what I would say behavior that borders on unethical, even immoral. I notice this all the time. It is exaggerated, it encourages because it accords a certain degree of anonymity along with reach. So platforms like WhatsApp, Twitter, and others give you a fair amount of anonymity, or so people think. If you really want to track someone down, most of the time you can, but a lot of people believe they can't be tracked down or not easily, and so they are encouraged, and they know that they can build a reach. Then they have an ego. That also encourages unethical behavior. They will make statements that may be false just to attract attention so that they may feel important. They will do anything to get people to like what they post. They will claim, many times I know that people will claim something as their own post or say this is true, I have verified it. All these things are examples of unethical behavior. And I'll tell you, it isn't just that. If you think this is confined to the lay public at large, that's not true. Very soon after I became Vice Chancellor at Delhi University, so this was the year 2010, we were trying to produce our own digital textbooks. And I had assigned the job to a very distinguished colleague of mine who was also a very well-established scientist and was well-versed in technology. And he came to me with a bunch of material that he said was ready for publication. This scientist is very well published. His own research papers are in some of the best journals abroad. And he had brought to me material produced by some distinguished colleagues of Delhi University, well established. And I asked him, are you sure that this material has been well copy edited? And he said, we've done a good job. I employed people who are good at languages, so on and so forth. We had spared no expenses. So I picked one of those digital books randomly. I looked at the author. There were two authors. The lead author was the chairman of one of our most important departments in the university. This textbook was meant for our undergraduates. Then I asked my colleague, let's just check it right now for plagiarism. I don't know why I wanted to do that, because he had believed that having been authored by such well-established figures, these things are not necessary. And you will be surprised to learn that 80% of the book was completely plagiarized from two sources. Completely, verbatim. We picked up another, turned out almost like that. And we junked the entire program. You know how dangerous and unethical this was? Actually, had we persecuted those colleagues, almost everyone who had contributed in that program would have been in some sort of trouble. It still bothers me that did they know that they were plagiarizing? Probably they did. If you go to a good publishing house to write a book, even in times which are not digital, they do their best to make sure that this is not unoriginal stuff. Have they attributed regular quotes and stuff to the right references? Have they given credit? All those things are taken care of by good publishing houses and good research journals. But these colleagues seem to be totally careless or unaware or even unethical. And this is a problem that India needs to recognize, and I'll tell you why. Because I believe I'm addressing largely my colleagues from the academic world. Dwell on this matter. Many times I have come across colleagues from British and American universities who have looked at products coming from students of Delhi and other universities in India after they have gone over to those universities. And they tell me that your students have no critical sense. They will take huge passages from sources without acknowledging them, as if they have contributed. I don't believe that our students are cheating. It is just that they do not perceive this as unethical. It has never been ingrained. It has never been given a critical persona for these students to look at how, when you take something from a digital source, you have to give attribution, acknowledgement, credit. They don't seem to understand. This has become a bit of an epidemic. Just a few months ago, the parent of a girl at a very famous university abroad gave me a frantic call late in the night because it was daytime there. His daughter was about to be debarred from acquiring a degree, a research degree, because what she had turned in as a dissertation was a fair amount of, I would say, plagiarism within quotation marks. And it took enormous effort to convince that university. I didn't do the convincing. I told the parent that let your daughter defend herself. Tell her to tell them the truth and to say that this was not a research degree, but it was beyond a master's degree. And eventually she survived and she was given another chance and to write another dissertation. But you can see that in India, somewhere this is a problem. And I'm glad that Professor Agarwal has organized a platform like this. When I said at the beginning that I will come and dwell on how dangerous this can be, let me explain to you. I'm sure many of you must have heard of this now defunct firm called Cambridge Analytica. This firm used to handle online data and look at various sources connected with data on social media platforms. Their behavior in the presidential election when Donald Trump got elected was highly unethical. They took huge amounts, millions of users from Facebook without their consent, created profiles, and actually helped influence the outcome of the US presidential election. That's what I meant, that this can have a huge impact. In earlier times, before the digital age, you couldn't do this. Digital techniques, technology allows you to have enormous reach. And now it is almost certain that the US presidential election, when Donald Trump got elected, was influenced to a significant extent by tactics that Cambridge Analytica employed on behalf of Donald Trump. So you can see that the destiny of a nation get affected. And that is dangerous. How does one counter this? That is one of the challenges that I believe this seminar, this session will look at in great detail and will work on it. I'm certain that they will address these issues. I also want you to realize that it isn't that we are always looking at this from the point of view of a negative perspective. Digital technologies have also allowed standards to be enforced for better ethical behavior. So it works both ways. It's a double-edged sword. It can lead to harm and it can also lead to a fair amount of good. I know of stories where firms in any kind of dealing with their consumer may do something that may be unethical. Whether it's online or offline, that is not the issue. In earlier times, it would be very difficult for these firms to respond to your complaints. I have now come across social media-based studies that tell us, both in India and other countries, that firms are very wary of acquiring a bad name when they get bad publicity because of behavior that is not exactly ethical. And how does this happen? So suppose you decide to purchase something online or otherwise, and I know of a specific case. So there was a furniture firm that offered to sell something online to someone, a consumer. I'm giving you a real case. It was a fairly large, expensive purchase. Within a minute, the consumer changed her mind. Within a minute. This is a real case story. Within that minute, she canceled the order. And the firm said, we don't accept cancellations. We will not refund your money. So she got in touch. She sent them emails, tried to reason with them. She said, you do not have anything on your platform online which says you will not allow refunds. You say nothing about cancellation. So how would I know that you weren't going to refund me? And they said, that's our policy. After she realized that the firm refuses to listen to her, all she did was tweet the whole episode in a single tweet. And within 5 minutes, she got a phone call from the firm that they had already sanctioned her refund. So whether the firm liked it or not, they had to respond to what are ethical standards and behave ethically. So technology, digital technology, even if the purchase had been offline, you could have damaged the firm's reputation online on a platform like Twitter or even WhatsApp, and they don't like that. It's very harmful for them, creates a lot of bad publicity. Consumers tend to become wary, and so they immediately responded. I've also noticed online platforms where you can purchase things. There are many of them, Flipkart, Amazon, and many others. They have a fairly good system of customer reviews. So every time you make a purchase, at least there is a certain degree of transparency. You can look at customer reviews and they give you star ratings. Also, and all this is possible instantaneously because of the digital platform. Had I been to a regular store, which was in a mall, had I in earlier times gone to purchase something, all I would have to rely on would be what the salesman would tell me about the product. Now, because of digital technologies, I can enhance my information by just looking at all those reviews, which will come to me from far corners of the world by all kinds of users. And that gives me an insight and a choice. So I want to emphasize that this is not just one direction where cheating and unethical behavior happens. Digital technologies have allowed the consumer experience to become better. I also know that now every single doctoral student at the University of Delhi is fully aware that if he plagiarizes more than a sentence without attribution, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to be in big trouble. And so they have become far more careful at the doctoral level. I'm not sure if this is true at the undergraduate level. I believe the problem still persists. But at the doctoral level, I have certainly seen that students have been, because the university mandates that you have to check your entire thesis on an online plagiarism platform of high value. But sometimes this can cause unnecessary and not necessarily, a case where there is unethical behavior. It can still get you into trouble, and I'll tell you what happened. There was a doctoral student of mine who had produced an outstanding PhD thesis. He had published 3 research papers in a very high impact, highly regarded American mathematical journal. Extraordinary work. The referees, each time the paper was submitted for publication, would write, "This is outstanding work." This gentleman, this former student of mine, who is now doing extremely well in the mathematical world, decided to use some online platform somewhere on the web just for the heck of it to check his thesis for plagiarism, because he knew that the next day he will go to the university and use the university software for checking this. Now, I have no idea what he did. He put the thesis into that platform online. I don't know what results he got. The next day, he sent me an extremely worried message. Extremely worried message. "I need your help, sir." So I was in a meeting. I realized there's something serious he's worried about. So I came out and I called him up. And he said, "Sir, I'm at the university." I think he was at the exam branch or wherever they do the testing. And they are telling me that his thesis has been plagiarized 100%. So this was, all that had happened was, whichever platform he had used the previous night for testing his thesis for plagiarism had kept the record of the thesis there digitally, had not taken it away. The university software, which was very powerful, immediately caught the presence of this book, this dissertation on that platform, and said this is a verbatim copy of that. Of course, the university librarian was a distinguished librarian and a scholar. He sorted the problem out very quickly, but it can lead to trouble needlessly. So sometimes one has to be careful. But I also tell you something about ethical behavior. I've noticed in earlier times, and I've noticed this through many personal stories that my friends had used to tell me. Every time they did purchase of shares of companies on the stock market, many a time the stockbroker or someone would, somehow defraud them, cheat them, mislead them. This would happen time and again. Digital technologies, because of demat accounts, are now making the situation so transparent that it's far, far reduced any kind of fraud, any kind of cheating. The Securities Exchange Board of India, SEBI, is so careful. It is a watchdog. It has set high standards, and it is constantly trying to rectify any kind of flaws and deficiencies that they come across. I think social media platforms and SEBI and such things, demat accounts, all of them should be brought into programs of academic interest. One of the problems we have in universities globally, but particularly in India, is that for us, we tend to think of things like these as non-academic. Everything is academic. The whole world is a university. We must look at things carefully. We must understand that everything has a consequence. We must understand this from several perspectives. We must understand digitization and ethics from not just technology and not just from moral behavior, but also from what society is doing around us. How are things changing? How are things improving? We must constantly be aware. What happens is once we frame syllabi, once we look at things, then we tend to fossilize them and keep them going in the same way. This is a rapidly evolving world. It is so rapidly evolving. You have to be constantly alert. I'd like to end my talk with one personal story. There is a lot of artificial intelligence that is being used, enormous amount. So these are two stories actually, one personal and one that will astound you. So how things can go wrong. This is a true story narrated at the International Congress of Mathematicians by a leading mathematician of the world, addressing an audience that comprised about 4,000 or 5,000 mathematicians gathered from all over the world. And he was explaining how publishing houses sometimes resort to unethical behavior. Because they have digital technology at their disposal, they had adopted techniques to enhance their reach and therefore their profits. So this person noticed that a certain very prestigious journal, I will not name anything, and this is a talk on record, so all of this is on record. A very prestigious journal had a tendency to largely accept papers if and only if they were authored with lots of references of articles that had been published previously in the same journal. So if you wrote a paper and submitted to the journal, your chances of a rejection would be high if you hadn't cited any author who had already published in that journal. Create a better impact factor. What this gentleman did, he published a fake paper. He used all the right keywords and he had a huge list of references, all of which consisted of papers that had actually been published in that journal. But his paper was utter nonsense, utter nonsense. He just used lots of keywords and made them look logical, but it made no sense scientifically. What happened to that paper? It got accepted. So what they done? Nothing. They sent it through a software to check. They looked at the keywords, the software gave them some keywords in some artificial manner. They looked at the references, all of them are very credible references occurring in the text, and they accepted the paper. Now that is highly unethical behavior, highly unethical. And we have to be careful. Nothing is sacrosanct, particularly in the digital age where it is so easy to defraud, so easy to create false perspectives, false images, false news. Constantly we have to be alert, and I think academic institutions must look at the fake news phenomena globally. People are forever attributing photographs that they have not taken, or they have morphed, or they have digitally altered, and trying to take credit. They're also looking at news stories that alter people's behavior. These could be looked at from a transdisciplinary perspective, and I urge platforms like the one that we are addressing, using today, to create awareness for greater academic practical insight into this kind of social behavior. My last story is a very personal story. My own area of research uses a technical term from mathematics called operator. These are very important objects that have impact: quantum dynamics, quantum analytical systems, quantum computing, all of them. The term is operator. And I tend to collaborate with mathematicians in different parts of the world, Canada, America, Europe. And so we exchange things via email. It has enhanced digital technology. This way has enhanced productivity like anything. After I started using Gmail, this happened many years ago, I noticed once Gmail began to sort of take great advantage of how they would market to you through emails, that at a certain phase, sometime I think around 2013 or 14, when I was Vice Chancellor, I kept getting bombarded with emails on the Gmail platform from various employment agencies. Dinesh Singh, we have the perfect job for you. I used to ignore them. Then one day, just out of curiosity, I thought, let me take a look at this. And I clicked on one of them. And the email was, Dinesh Singh, the right job for you, desktop operator, 11,000 rupees a month. And so you could even call this unethical behavior, because they had looked at whatever emails I was sending, they were catching the right words. Now, somewhere when we allow ourselves to use these platforms, I'm sure we grant them consent to access our emails. Gmail repeatedly reassures us that no human eye touches your emails. These are artificial intelligence platforms that look at these emails, connect the keywords with what could be used to a marketing agency, and then the agency pays them something and they are allowed to send emails. Yeah, maybe it is not unethical in that sense, but somewhere along the line, your emails, no matter how confidential you think they are also being looked at by something. I would like to believe that they do this in an ethical manner. But many years later, sometimes we are told, no, it really didn't happen the way you thought it was happening. This happened, that leaked, so on and so forth. I think our institutions, academic platforms must even take deep academic, rigorous insights. But remember this, do not reduce your studies into some ethereal world where it is all theoretical with fancy jargon. Stay rooted to the ground, forever use constantly the most recent illustrations, the most recent ideas. Stay connected to applications, keep it transdisciplinary, and you will find that if you teach your undergraduates this through project work as the national education policy is forever now espousing, you will all have much to learn and much to gain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think you have given a lot of food for thought, a lot of material for discussion by sharing the examples, the good part of digitalization and the bad part of digitalization. So probably it is all for all of us that we should discuss, ponder upon these things, and should take it at the initial level, as you said, at the undergraduate level. So I believe the young teaching community will take up this challenge that, see, if we are doing anything, even at a undergraduate or school level, this ethical part or the plagiarism part should be taken care of, because otherwise we will not learn. These young minds will not learn, and their research will also be affected in that way. They might do wonderful job, but we are not teaching them how to do the wonderful job. So that is what it is, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your all the experience and knowledge with our participants. Over to Nidhi.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving ahead to the last phase of the inauguration session, may I please invite our program director, Shri Jagannath Chaudhary, for the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. Professor Agrawal rightly said, it's always a pleasure to listen to Professor Dinesh Singh, our own Professor Dinesh Singh, because he is an integral part of our institution, and he is all out for institution, I know. And from our joining, just from the evening to Ramanujan, it is all because of his guidance, his blessings, his support, and you have been a mentor, a guide, and a well-wisher. And it's very, very nice to be with you, sir. I remember we have organized one conference in Ambassador Hotel, and it is the torrential rain, but we make shift arrangement, and you spoke so very well that the moment Nisha said we are going to organize one, refresher course on ethics, suddenly it struck to my mind that Professor Dinesh Singh should be called. And it is because of clarity of thought, it is his presentation and his examples are really, really very good. And we are so much enlightened by his lecture. He talked about the moral consciousness which precedes moral behavior, and the merits and demerits of digitalization insofar as your ethical standards are concerned. And he said very good examples like Kant, Socrates, and Raja Harishchandra, and I think that is the best high moral standards set by our ancestors or philosophers of their time. And he talked about the human weaknesses, the ego, and how people want to be important. So there is a there is a habit of to display the ego or what you call that weaknesses, but subconsciously, so that is there in the mind. But insofar as he says that the ratings and reviews, it gives a rise to the consumer awareness. He talked about plagiarism. And sir, thank you very much to be our chief guest as well as our keynote speaker. And we have chosen the right person. And I think our participants might have been enlightened by your voice boards. Thank you very much, and be always with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
Over to Nidhi.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we are moving ahead to the interactive session, which will be conducted jointly by the course coordinators, Dr. Madhu Kaushik and Dr. Zairunisha. So basically,
Thank you, everyone. I will leave now because I have another AC meeting. So over. Thank you.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So may I please invite Dr. Madhu Kaushik and Dr. Zairunisha to introduce the rules and regulations of the program and discuss the same with the participants. Over to you.
Thank you, Nidhi. And I think participants are here with us. Zeru, will you read all the rules and regulations?
Zairunisha ma'am, you're on mute. Okay, she is saying that she's not able to mute herself. She's not the co-host.
Okay.
I know. I'm. Ravi sir, can you please make Zairunisha ma'am the co-host?
जी मैम
Zairunisha ma'am को co-host बना दो.
डन मैम
Now you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nidhi. Thank you so much, everyone. And now we are here in the interactive session with our participants. So before we begin, I would like to tell them that if they have any question, they can put it in the channel,
Chat
which
box.
we have already shared, the YouTube channel, and we will be taken up their questions, and we are trying to answer, and we will try to answer their questions and query. And apart from that, let me check if Ashish sir is here, so that the technical questions will be dealt and will be handled by the Ashish sir. Ashish sir, are you here?
Ashish is not here, Zeru. I think in Telegram group, we already shared frequently asked question, FAQ. So participants can read carefully that FAQ, and there will be no problem to join the portal. And if you want to join portal, I think everybody joined the portal. I hope so.
Yeah, Madhu, I am just opening my site so that I can see if there are some questions and some query from our participants. Let's give them 5 minutes time so that they can put their question, right?
So Zeru, there are some rules for getting the certificate.
Okay.
So
let me open the.
Actually, okay, I'm just reading. Registration is mandatory for all the participation. Attempting and submitting all the quizzes and assignments are mandatory, and each participant should score a minimum of 50% in total to avail of the program completion certificate. So I hope कि आप सबको समझ में आ रहा है कि 50% जो मार्क्स है मिनिमम स्कोर हमें करना है अगर सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को सर्टिफिकेट चाहिए इस कोर्स का तो 50% मार्क्स जो हैं जो कि आपके क्विजेज असाइनमेंट्स और इन सब के बेस पर आपको मिलेंगे तो 50% मार्क्स के बिहाफ पर आपको सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा and graded certificates on the basis of performance will be awarded to the participant. जो आपका सर्टिफिकेट होगा उस पर ग्रेड भी रहेगा, और वो ग्रेड जो होगा आपकी परफॉर्मेंस पर बेस्ड होगा। अगर आपके 80% एंड अबाउ आपका स्कोर होगा तो ए ग्रेड है, ए प्लस ग्रेड भी 85-90 से ऊपर हम लोग देते हैं। So according to your performance, we will grade you in your certificate. As part of the Ministry of Education's requirement under the PMMNTT scheme, all participants need to submit online feedback for each session. तो हर सेशन जो डेली आपको एक सेशन होगा और उस सेशन में जो भी आपका फीडबैक होगा वो फीडबैक आपको जरूर से देना है। आप सबको मालूम होगा कि सारे सेशंस जो होंगे ज्यादातर आपके ऑनलाइन ही होंगे, मूक्स प्लेटफॉर्म पर होंगे, और आपके लिए ये इजी रहेगा कि आप किसी भी वक्त प्लेटफॉर्म पे जाकर उन लेक्चर्स को सुन सकते हैं। यानी आज का लेक्चर, अगर आज तो कोई लेक्चर आपका अपलोड नहीं होगा, कल से आपके लेक्चर्स जो हैं अपलोड होने वाले हैं, तो जब लेक्चर सुनेंगे उसी पर बेस्ड आपके असाइनमेंट और क्विजेज रहेंगे, जो कि रात 12 बजे से पहले आप लोगों को कंप्लीट करने होंगे, बिकॉज नेक्स्ट डे के लिए हम उसको नहीं, क्लोज हो जाता है पोर्टल, तो और एक बार सबमिट करने के बाद दोबारा से रीसबमिट नहीं होता है। सो इस बात का थोड़ा ध्यान रखिए कि जब भी आप अपना असाइनमेंट, अपना क्विज जो भी सबमिट कर रहे हैं वो एक ही बार सबमिट होगा, 2 बार सबमिट नहीं होगा, और फीडबैक आपको जरूर देना है। And failing to meet any of the above conditions will result in denial of a certificate of completion to the participants. So अगर assignments या quizzes या feedback form आपका नहीं आता है तो आपको हम लोग सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दे पाएंगे, उसके लिए हम माफी भी चाहेंगे आप लोगों से। दूसरा, नो ऑब्जेक्शन सर्टिफिकेट जो NOC होती है, और लीव इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड to participate in this program, and the program is beneficial for career advancement scheme. CAS जो promotions वगैरह होता है उसके लिए काफी फायदेमंद है। प्लस आपका जो डेवलपमेंट है, जो इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट है, जो लीडरशिप क्वालिटी है, जो एक बहुत नया कॉन्सेप्ट इस रिफ्रेशर में हम लोग लेकर आए हैं, और आपने ज्वाइन भी इसी वजह से शायद किया है सभी लोगों ने, तो आपको बहुत सारे अच्छे लेक्चर्स आपको सुनने के लिए मिलेंगे। स्केड्यूल जो होगा वो टेलीग्राम पर शेयर होगा, तो टेलीग्राम के टच में आप सभी लोग रहेंगे, जितनी भी इंफॉर्मेशंस होंगी वो सब टेलीग्राम ग्रुप पर आपके साथ शेयर की जाएंगी। सो ज़रूर आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगी, और
Yes.
कुछ क्वेश्चंस हमारे
Yes.
आए होंगे।
Yes, Madhu, you have aptly stated all the rules and regulation. Thank you so much. I would like to add something more into that, which are, I think, important and mandatory for our participants to learn about it. The first thing, as you have aptly said, that our programs are online. It is online available. They need to reach out to the RC MOOCs portal. We have already given the information, everything, how to reach that portal on our Telegram group. So there should not be any confusion, I guess. One thing which I would like to add into that we have recorded session. Most of the sessions are recorded, right? So you can access those recording any of the time. ठीक है, सुबह से लेके शाम तक anytime you can access those recording, and questions and quizzes which we are going to give you, they are based on those recordings. We have live sessions as well. So live session, you have to be there. It is mandatory to be there in for the live session, because attendance is mandatory. So attendance जो है वो mandatory है, तो if there is a live session, and all the information will be given by the organizers one day before to you, so that there should not be any kind of problem and any kind of confusions regarding that. तो आप जो है उसके according you have to join. We are trying our best to make everything conducive and comfortable to you. So if you miss the live session anyhow, the recordings will be available on YouTube, and link will be shared by the organizers shortly. Second important thing which I would like to tell you, that the email ID through which you have to register yourself, पूरे program में वो email ID should be the same. You should not be changing your email ID for submitting your quizzes and everything from other email ID, and registering from another email ID. It should not be done, right? Because it creates a confusion and it will be problematic for creating and generating your certificates. So ये एक चीज, this is very important thing, and as Madhu has already said, that 50% work or total availability of the program is required, and you need to complete all the quizzes and the final test, क्योंकि आपका जो है the total score will be counted, मतलब how much program you have completed, the total score. So the certificate is based on the totality of your attendance in the program. तो ये कुछ चीजें important है, and let me take up the questions, Madhu.
Yes.
So that we get to know what the participants are asking. Just give me a second, I'm connecting with you too. That we get to know what the participants are asking. Just give me a second, I'm connecting with you. So I don't think so we have any questions from our participants so far. Ashish sir, if you want to add something important you think our participants should know, you can add in the meantime.
If participants face any problem, please write to us on mail rcethics@ramanujan.du.ac.in, and you can write anything if you have.
Is the email ID mentioned in the brochure?
Yes.
Okay. So Madhu, as you have said that if they face any kind of issue and problem, they can directly contact us through mail ID. Ashish sir, would you like to add something for the participants? Sir, are you, please unmute yourself.
Ashish co-host nahi hai shayad, isliye
Just a second, I'm unmuting.
Okay, मैं अभी unmute करने के लिए allowed नहीं था, sorry.
Yes, sorry sir, I did not see.
So I think participants have registered easily on the portal and assess the content. If there is any issue participant want to ask, I can give the suggestions to how can they register. Madhu ma'am already told that assignment should be compulsory and quiz should be compulsory. All attempting 50% on an average scoring. So all these are mandatory to get the certificate. And also one thing, the feedback is compulsory to fill because it is a requirement of Ministry of Education. So if someone is want to ask something, I can give the answer.
Yeah. If they face any of the issue, they can directly contact you, sir?
Yes, ma'am. No issue.
Okay. They can directly contact to Ashish, sir, as well as they can mail it to us, write it to us, and we will definitely respond.
If there is any technical error they are facing, the technical issue, they can directly contact me. My number is...
Ashish, your number... have you shared your number? आपने अपना नंबर शेयर किया पार्टिसिपेंट्स के साथ? आशीष म्यूट है आप?
Okay, there is a question. Ashish sir, are you here? Okay, we have some question we need to answer that. Madhu, you are here. Ashish sir is here. So the first question is from Richa. Richa ji is asking at what time to take online session. So Richa ji, as we have already told you that most of the sessions are recorded. So we will be putting all the videos, everything in the morning. So anytime from morning to evening, at night as well, whenever you feel free, you can watch those videos and complete the quizzes and questions which are given by us. So it is not means you have one day time to finish it. Anytime from morning to evening, you can get it done. So there will be no any problem from our side regarding it.
रिचा जी, ये मूक्स प्लेटफॉर्म पर है, तो इस मूक्स प्लेटफॉर्म का सबसे ज्यादा फायदा यही है कि आपको मॉर्निंग में वीडियोस जो हैं वो अपलोड हो जाएंगे और उसके बाद आप किसी भी वक्त पूरे दिन में रात 12 बजे से पहले आप किसी भी वक्त वीडियोस को सुनकर उस पर बेस्ड जो असाइनमेंट्स होंगे, क्विजेस होंगे, उन सभी को आप कर सकते हैं. So there is no problem.
Ashish sir, there is a question for you, and the participant Gitika and others are asking that where we get a feedback link.
Feedback link पोर्टल पर ही होता है.
Ashish sir again.
फीडबैक फॉर्म होता है वो पोर्टल पर ही होता है. वहीं पर आपको असाइनमेंट, क्विजेस एंड फीडबैक फॉर्म सब पोर्टल पर
Ashish
ही
sir,
आपको
you are
मिलेगा.
unmute now.
यस यस मैम, बिकॉज बार होस्ट मुझे म्यूट कर दे रहे हैं, मैं अपने आप को अनम्यूट नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. फीडबैक आपको पोर्टल के जो आपको पोर्टल मिला है ethics.rcmoocs.in, उसी पे आपको मिलेगा. डे वाइज फीडबैक मिलेंगे आपको.
So you mean to say, sir, all the feedback forms, everything will be available on the MOOC?
In the portal only. We are not sharing in any Telegram group or mail through mail. We are not sharing any content through the mail or in Telegram group. Just give the
Okay.
information through the Telegram group.
Okay, there is a question. Will there be technical session today?
No, I think no technical session today because
We
we
are
have already
starting from tomorrow.
conducted the inaugural session.
Yeah. We are starting from tomorrow. So today we have just inaugural session where we are interacting and we are just trying to introduce our theme. Okay. Now there is a question by SP Murganji, and the question is, good morning to all, and that too organizing. He has thanks everyone, and he has praised our program, and a big thank you for the organizer team. Next question is, okay, it is another question related with the session. They are asking again one of the participant regarding the criteria of certificate. So can you explain this a little bit more? How to get the certificate, or is there any possibility not to get the certificate?
आशीष, A+ स्कोर बताइए कब मिलेगा? Because I think
And the grading
participants are
system
more
also
interested
you
to
need
get
to
A+.
If they are attempting all the quiz and assignment and scoring more than 90%,
Yes.
then they get the A+ grade.
Okay.
Less than 75%, they will get A, and rest till the 50%, 50 to 75%, we will provide the B+ grade. And for scoring a certificate, there is a compulsory to attempt all the quizzes and assignment we have already mentioned in the brochure, and scoring on an average 50%, and complete all the tasks like quiz, assignments, feedback, and discussion group, discussion forum also. They should be participants should be participate in the discussion forum also. They should be discussed with each other also.
I think most of the participants wants A+ grade, so I hope 90% से above.
And you know the program we have Madhu, we have the way we have just arranged the program. It gives a lot of flexibility to our participant to get A+.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Now
program is self-paced. The program is totally self-paced, so they are assess and content any time in a day. Just time उनको time मिलता है, वो quiz कर सकते हैं, video देख सकते हैं, assignment कर सकते हैं. There is no fixed time कि आपको इसी time attempt करना, but deadline जरूर follow करनी है आपको quizzes और assignments की.
Yes, this is very important. So Ashish sir, there is another question by participant Siddhi, and Siddhi ji is asking that, ma'am, how to give feedback for recorded session.
We will provide the link in portal for the recorded sessions also. You should submit the feedback form from there.
And the feedback means what? Feedback means we are trying to get your suggestions.
Yes.
For our program. How do you want us to improve, and what are your suggestions? And how do you think about the speaker? Would you add something more into that? This is something like that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
From tomorrow onwards, they will see to it first day, and after that, I think they will be more comfortable.
Okay, there is a problem faced by Jagaji, and he has some technical problem issue, Ashish sir. He's saying that once I have signed out, while signing in again, it shows that the mail ID and password is incorrect. Kindly help me to resolve this issue.
Yes, ma'am. Telegram group पे जो हमने मैसेज डाला है, उसका आप point number 7 है लास्ट में कि please do not use that credentials which you used for the registration time. आपने RC Moocs पर एक अकाउंट बनाया होगा पहले, उसका ईमेल आईडी पासवर्ड आपको ethics.rcmoocs.in पे यूज नहीं करना है. आपको ethics.rcmoocs.in पर आपको अपना एक अकाउंट क्रिएट करना है और वो लॉगिन आईडी और पासवर्ड से आपको लॉगिन करना है.
So it means
Yes, sir.
Ashish, you are saying कि rcmoocs.in पर जो इन्होंने अपना मेल डाला था वो मेल और RC ethics वाला जो पोर्टल है उसका मेल अलग अलग होगा या सेम?
मेल सेम कर सकते हैं, पासवर्ड आपको क्रिएट करना है। RC MOOCs का पासवर्ड वहां पर नहीं चलेगा एथिक्स वाले लिंक पर।
Okay, sir. You mean to say that the mail ID can be the same, but password need to be changed. So अगर उन्होंने नहीं किया, can they do it?
Yes, forgot password भी
They
जाके
can
कर
do
सकते हैं.
any time.
Yes, ma'am.
So they
Yes,
can
ma'am.
do any time, and the problem
Not
will be
any time.
resolved.
Not any time.
Okay.
From first and second day. Otherwise, enrollment has been closed. So after 2 days, they can't be enrolled.
This is very important. This is
Yes,
very
yes.
important.
After
Our
2 days, they can't be
participant.
enrolled yourself. So we will provide 2 days for the enrollment.
After that, portal will be closed.
Yeah.
There will be no access to join the portal.
They can't be joined.
They can't be joined. So please join your portal today itself or tomorrow also.
Tomorrow. Till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow
they can
अच्छा रहेगा आज ही करें आशीष, सभी लोग join portal भी.
Okay, there is a question by one of the participant, and he or she, I don't know, I'm sorry for that. He asking the format of our questions and format of our assignment. So the question is, are you going to give any paper and pen work? Yeah, there will be some assignments and there will be quiz question as well. Quiz question, we mean to say that there will be MCQ questions, right? The multiple choices questions and as well as the assignment. Ashish,
MCQ in quizzes and maybe theoretical question in assignments.
Yeah.
1 or 2 questions, not more than that.
We have both pattern, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think participants have received their answers and they have cleared their doubt. So I would like to, you want to add something?
Yes. जरूर जो assignments होगा वो assignment की जो file होगी वो upload करनी होगी.
हाँ.
तो वो अगर लिख कर होगा तो वो लिखेंगे अपना फाइल जो भी है टाइपिंग करेंगे अपना जो आंसर होगा उसके बाद उसको फाइल को अपलोड करना है. वो कितने वर्ड्स में लिखना है असाइनमेंट क्या करना है वो इंस्ट्रक्शंस जो होंगी वो ऑलरेडी असाइनमेंट्स में होंगी.
Yeah. Madhu, you have aptly said that the portal and all the information to upload the assignment, I think is given on the MOOCs portal. So they need to write whatever the instructions are given to them and they need to upload the assignment. So the area, I think the space is given there and they need to upload their assignment on that particular space.
There is a tab to upload the assignments.
Okay, tab is given.
Tab is
So I think we have resolved all the questions of our participant. If they have any doubt and any question, they can write it to us and they can directly contact to us. So I would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Ashish sir. Thank you, Madhu, and thank you that. And we can now close the session.
Thank you, Jaru ma'am, conducting the session.
Thank you, Zaru. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me end up. Ravi sir, are you here? Please end the session. I think only Ravi sir can end.